on your supplements might be.
If you struggle with bladder issues, so urgency, anything like overactive bladder, even stress incontinence, you need to not only consider the two previous posts I shared, which were, do you have too much tension or you need to have strength of your hips? As well as dietary influences. I dove into this in my email list over the previous 2 weeks before about identifying what your specific triggers are. Now, it's not to point some of these things out and say, like, you can never ever have them again. However, it is to create some heightened awareness when maybe you're getting frustrated, thinking that your efforts aren't paying off, and there are things that are just hiding in your diet that are continuing to trigger you. So, first, understanding what that is for yourself is important, because then you take that information and maybe you don't stop having that food, but maybe you make different decisions around when you have it. If you realize that maybe your morning coffee is something that triggers you, one suggestion is to always kind of have some water between that, so have a cup of coffee, have some water. Dilution is the solution to your pollution or your bladder irritation. The other thing to consider is low acid coffee, as well as something called Pre-Leaf, which is an over-the-counter acid reducer. It has really great reviews, and I have tried it, and I use it sometimes too still. If I want to have a cup of Nespresso and I realize it makes me really irritated, those are some things to consider. And it's not about cutting things out of your life, but figuring out how can you make it work. Or maybe you know what your triggers are and you're going on a really long car ride and you decide that it's probably wise not to have that irritating substance before that. Or you have a really important meeting and you don't want to get up and leave between that. And so then you just choose when it's more appropriate to have that happen to you. So my biggest triggers, coffee does irritate me, but not as much as I realized what was doing it during my workouts was my pre-workout, which is really high in B vitamins. B vitamins irritate the bladder. Vitamin C does as well. So you think about those energy drinks that have high levels of B vitamins, vitamin C sometimes too, as well as artificial sweeteners and carbonation, all of which are bladder irritants. It's like a quadruple whammy for your bladder. So that's one of those things, and it's like, well, just your Kegels. Like, no, that has nothing to do with your pelvic floor strength at all. Just the fact that these substances are irritating your bladder. So there's a long laundry list of different types, and it really is just the individual. But, maybe if you work out in the evening and you look at your lunch and you see that you've had vinegar and lemon water and kombucha and like some of these things, some stuff starts to make sense.